Charlie Stewart here with the Kerville Folk Festival, and have I got a treat for you? The impetus, otherwise known as the Rodfather, the founder and chief purveyor of joy, Rod Kennedy. Rod, what was your first vision to make this happen?
Answer the phone. It was the governor.
Uh-huh.
He said, we're going to have an arts and crafts fair in Kerrville, but everybody's going home at 5 o'clock. What are you going to do about it? I had been in the entertainment business now for 70 years, and I had been produced over 1,000 events in and around and out of Austin before the governor's call reached me, and they had this dream of an arts and crafts fair and were concerned that closing the fair at 5 o'clock, and I don't know where that came from, but that was what was in discussion, that by closing at 5 o'clock, everybody would go home, they wouldn't eat in town, they wouldn't get hotel rooms, and they are the governor's tourism department. And so I said, yeah, I think folk music would be a good idea with arts and crafts. And they said, well, go for it. It's been so successful that each year when we have this festival, we bring in $2.6 million tourist dollars to this town, and it's made put the town on the map. If it wasn't before, it's a lovely, lovely resort community, and now with something to do, and they had good theater prior to our arrival, and so this added the music side of it, and people are very happy to come to Kerrville.
Right. How about some of your favorite songwriters? Can you go through some of them?
You know, we've had 700 or 800 that are favorites.
Okay.
I'd have to say Peter Yarrow for the spiritual optimism that he gave us, in addition to Puff the Magic Dragon and the other things that he's contributed to our society. But also the Texans, you know, Willie and Michael Martin Murphy, and just so many, Marcia Ball, just so many artists that brought joy to me, not just as a producer, but as a music lover. I had been going to some bluegrass festivals where it's all pickers, you know, everybody's playing, they all go to be heard instead of to hear. And while we didn't have that kind of power, there were so many people that wanted to be a singer or a songwriter that it was a natural thing that bloomed once given the proper environment. And we weren't critiquing anybody, we weren't criticizing anybody, they were all sharing together. And it's very rewarding for me as a producer to see the number of people that loved what we were doing before we even knew what we were doing. We were just lucky to find what we were looking for, even before we knew what it was. Peter, Paul, and Mary had broken up in, I think, 71, and I got a call from the Newport producer George Wein that Peter needed an entourage. He was going to tour by himself, and would I be his entourage? And I said, sure. So off we went. And along the way, the kids and adults alike would meet us at the backstage door to talk to us about songwriting and so forth. And Newport had had a success with what they called new folks, plural, and I thought that's what he said. I thought he said new folk, but he said new folks. But anyway, it's very difficult for anybody to break into the business, especially in those years. Now they've got television shows on every station with some kind of a competition or whatever. And there wasn't that opportunity at that point. So Peter said, "How?" And I said, "How? How do we get them here?" He said, "Just put a story in the newspaper and they'll come." 27 or 28 came the first time. This year, 700, trying to get recognition. And they will hitchhike, take a bus, fly, get here any way they can to sing their 2 songs and have a chance at recognition. It's a strong urge and drive that emerges when somebody's be able to create something that would be admired and perhaps let the listener know more about them and how they feel about things. And so that's the way it bloomed.
The coolest they ever say about you, he said in the early 70s, all the adults and establishment people were rebuking the youth, and Rod embraced us and let us do our thing.
Must have been asleep. I think that it was not just young people that needed to have their songs. Some people, in fact, we had to write a rule that it should be a new song, because people went hustling into their drawers of their bureaus and pulling out the things they wrote 20 years ago or 50 years ago. Everybody wants to be recognized in some way that's positive. And with somebody like Peter to create the environment and good quality judges and no strings attached and we're not booking people because they're cute or they've got contact or they might get a record deal or something. We were really wanting to know how our songwriters felt, and they fully expressed themselves. If you recall, the wall came down. There were a lot of other things happening in history that they all felt that they should write something to entitle that moment in their life, and it really worked. And I'm sitting here with the shivers because it's an emotional thing that's just loaded with expression and sharing, and even the competition is not vicious. It's kindly, and people are excited about the other fellow that won and hug them and so forth. So it was a joyful experience all the way around.
Might I say, in my entire life, and I'm going to be 47, I've never met anybody besides you that brought mass joy to such a large amount of people.
Well, I'd have to say that my teacher is Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. He has been driven for years to create a better world for all of us, and while some of us are skeptical and critical and think they're left-wing something or other or whatever, I learned on my trip with Peter touring and then all these years since that there's a generosity, it's the same as Tom Paxton and a lot of other people that feel the same way about the public benefit. And in fact, as I get older, it's hard not to weep, not to have tears running down my face, because I've just opened up, came out of the Marine Corps, which was one kind of an animal, into this golden scheme of being of somebody that's wanting to foster and excite people with music, and with music comes the personality and the desires and the frustrations and the needs and wants of the songwriter. And people hear someone singing about a subject that they've probably been thinking about for years, and they just never knew how to express themselves. And so here we are, expressing ourselves in something carefully prepared so that we get the genuine feeling across. And you can't help but love it.
There also seems to be an earth-sensitive theme. You have to bring your own cup, throwaway cups.
Well, we learned that from the Canadians. I had a complaint about all the throwaways on the ranch property from a bunch of women that were very excited about being in the great outdoors and then upset because of the trash along the highway and that kind of thing. And so it was easy to do that. I wish that we could have done away with plates as well, but we don't have a place where they could be washed and whatnot. And the cup is easy to accommodate. Everybody washes their own cup, and we saved a ton a day. A ton a day the first week.
And probably fostered another cottage industry by just the little rings that go on the inside of the cup.
Yeah.
And they always sell out faster than the cups do.
Yeah, they do.
That's quite a legacy you're leaving behind, and when you think of the legacy compounding, the people that you've trained are training next generations and generations after that. That's quite a powerful legacy.
Well, you know, there's hardly time to think of all that stuff,
Yeah.
but you're right, because we see examples of other people picking it up and literally picking it up, getting out on the highway with their little bag and picking it up. And it's a shame if they didn't, because this is such beautiful, it's such beautiful countryside, and to dress it with our trash is not the real way to. And it happened to be that that slogan and that whole drive was coming into popularity at that time as well. So.
And the spiritual richness of songwriters helping other songwriters and training, it is powerful stuff.
Yeah, because they're sharing something that's very private very often and trying to express themselves in a way that would be immediately understandable and yet not simplified to the point of Disney or something like that. It's exciting all the way around to me, spiritually and in every other way.
The show tonight has a song in it called Unknown Blessings, and we're all more grateful for the known blessings that you've given us throughout the last 42 years, Rod. And we, as a mass, thank you.
Well, I have to say that I'm the one that's enjoyed it more than anybody else, because I've been in it up to my ears.
That's beautiful.
All right.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Yeah, time to eat.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd like to tell Charlie that I appreciate his interest and his drive and his dedication.
Thank you, Rod. That means a lot.
You're welcome.